Okay, so as Beth said, my name's Nicholas Love. I work for Ability 360, which is a Center for Independence here in Arizona. I am a program manager in the Advocacy unit and work very closely with youth services and especially with employment services. But I'm going to give you an overview of what our Centers for Independence as general, and we'll go forward. So if you just want to click the next slide, we'll go into what we're doing today. So I just want to start with just a very, very brief history, just to show that Centers for Independence, or CILS, are very much in line with the Parent Training and Information Center, such as PEAK in Colorado, and in Arizona, our Parent Training and Information Center is called Raising Special Kids. Together, PEAK and Raising Special Kids have joined together into SHIFT to help with this movement. So Centers for Independence was established in 1972 in Berkeley, California, home of all advocacy, and was created by Ed Roberts and Judy Heumann. And these are two of just major leaders in disability rights. And they were both people, young people with disabilities who were told they could not succeed, they could not live independently. Ed Roberts was told that by vocational rehabilitation that he was unemployable. He eventually became the director of rehabilitation services. Judy Heumann was the first person in a wheelchair to be a teacher. So these are people who were told at a very young age they couldn't, and showed everyone wrong and became international disability advocates. Through the Rights for Education laws in 1975, we know a lot of things came out with parents' organizations, youth rights, and in 1976, the Rehabilitation Act started providing services for Centers for Independence. So that's where we get a lot of our funding. Next slide. So there's a philosophy of Centers for Independence. There are, through the Rehabilitation Act, we get some money, not a lot. There's over 400 CILs across the country, and we are there so people with disabilities can live independently, can exercise self-determination, make their own choices, contribute to society, and really pursue a meaningful career. We focus on the enjoyment of full inclusion, integration into all aspects of society, so economic, political, social, and education, right into our mainstream American society. Next slide, please. So a Center for Independence is a non-residential, a private nonprofit agency. A lot of people, when they hear the word center, they come to us and they go, so where do you keep the people who have disabilities? I'm like, no, that is completely the opposite of what we do. We don't do residential. We are wanting people to live truly inclusive, as independently as they can in society. So we are designed and operated by local communities of individuals with disabilities. So we like to say that we are people who provide the service. We are people with disabilities creating and providing services for people with disabilities. And we provide a range of independent living services. As a Center for Independence, we are consumer controlled, which means 51% of our staff and our board must be people who have disabilities. We must be community-based. We cannot be isolated. We can't be in sheltered employment. We can't be in nursing homes. We are in the community. And we are cross-disability, which means we are all types. And a lot of people think that Center for Independence is all about physical disabilities. It's all about wheelchairs, and it's not. It's all disabilities. It's people with developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, mental health. All disabilities are represented. Now, how they're represented in these centers can vary. Out of 400 centers, everybody's going to do something a little bit differently, but it's all disabilities. Next slide, please. So our independent living philosophies, and these are truly philosophies that we hold dear to our heart, that we everyday live, is that we take personal responsibility for ourselves. We don't really have people do for us. We do to the best of our ability. Yes, we might need resources. Yes, we might need supports and accommodations, but we take personal responsibilities for ourselves. Our disability is not a reason not to do something. Again, we're consumer driven, all about peer support, people with disabilities, helping people with disabilities. So we role model this. I always say that if somebody says somebody with a disability can't do something, take them to a center of independence where you see people with significant disabilities. We come to work every day and we're able to move forward. So great role modeling. Again, cross disability, and it's equal access. It's there for full inclusion for everyone. Truly community integration. It is about being out in the community, not going to a space, getting that service, and then leaving, go right back to a sheltered environment. And it's about making our own choices, true self-determination. We know what we want in our life. We know what we need. We might need some help explaining it, but we are capable of making those choices. Next slide. So out of these 400 plus centers for independence, independent living, a lot of different services, but we have 5 core services we must provide. So every center has these core services. So information referral is the main one that I think most people would utilize the most, because knowledge is that power. It's the access to those resources and services. I like to tell people that you don't know what you don't know. You can't ask for something if you don't know it exists. So if you don't know what you even need or what you want, that asking, calling for information referral from a Center for Independence, they may not provide that service, but they'll know who does it. They are so connected to all different resources. Information might provide you a different way of looking at something that you haven't thought of before. So very, very, very important part of Centers for Independence. We teach independent living skills, and again, that might be vary how these are done, but mobility training, meal preparation, budgeting, stress management, house cleaning, I mean, all different types of how to live as independently. And when I say independently, I don't mean necessarily by yourself. I mean just not in a nursing home or a restricted environment. We provide peer support, again, peer-to-peer. We are people with disability helping people. So we want to be able to role model that. We want to be able to provide that, but we also are able to set up people who perhaps have similar disabilities or similar experiences, so they can talk to people and help them through their processes, go, yeah, this is what I did, this is how I got through this system. It's really beneficial, very beneficial to see, for young people to see adults with disabilities who've made it through, very, very beneficial for parents to be able to see the capacity that people, we as people with disabilities are able to do. So we teach those independent living skills and show that peer model approach. Advocacy, that's the department I'm in, and we do individual advocacy. So it could be, I personally have an issue with a landlord, a school, you know, whatever, or it could be teaching teaching advocacy, teaching self-determination, teaching what it means to vote. What does it mean to ask for these rights? How do I talk to vocational rehabilitation about getting the services I need? How do I educate myself so that I can go and get an IEP, an individual education plan created that's correct for me or my youth? And then system change. So we also do legislation and go to DC and all these other things to make sure that the laws equal what people with disabilities really want. And in the disability community, we say nothing about us without us. So we are there anytime there is any type of laws created so that they know what we want as people with disabilities. Now, the 5th core service just started, and it's transition. And this came out of the new Rehabilitation Act that just got, not even a year ago, reissued. And so transition is about moving out of non-community settings. So moving out of nursing homes, moving out of institutions, those kind of things. But it's also transition for youth into secondary education. Now, according to this 5th core service, what they consider transition of youth is those who are out of school, but each center can do things a little differently. So we're really starting to focus more on youth services. Next slide. So these centers vary what the programs are depending on their history. Some centers are created out of physical disabilities. Some have come out of the history of developmental disabilities. So sometimes the programs that are offered are based on the history of the people who work there or who created it. A lot of things to do about funding. Centers for Independence do not get a lot of money, very little money, a lot of things to do. So a lot of centers find is a lot of creative ways. So for me, we weren't providing a lot of youth services that I thought we needed to do at our center. So I went and found a grant so I could provide those services. So depending on the staff a lot of times and the funding that's available, these services will vary. And it depends on the partners, which is why partnerships with parent training and information centers are really important for Centers for Independence. If a center is really connected to their parent training and information center, they're going to have a much stronger belief structure about youth services earlier. Ability 360 has a very strong relationship with our parent center here, Raising Special Kids. And it's a lot about geographical. If you're living in a rural area, what is available to you? I mean, I live in one of the largest cities in our country, so I have a lot of things available to me that somebody in our northern region on our reservations may not have. So a lot of those services are dependent on that. Next slide. So a little bit about the history and what centers are in general. Any questions so far about that? I'll give you a moment to digest everything I said really quickly. My apologies, I talk fast. Anything, Brendan?
So far, no questions have come through the chat. Since you invited them, a couple might come through, but we'll keep you posted. You're doing great.
All right. So let me give you a little bit about what's happening. We're going to talk a little bit about Arizona, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Colorado, and then we're going to talk about centers in general and how to get involved in them. So our Centers for Independent Living in Arizona are CILs. We have 5. We have Ability 360, which I am so blessed to work at because it's one of the largest and strongest reputations in the country. So pretty happy to be here. We serve Maricopa, which is our largest county. We do have parts in other smaller counties. But we also have one statewide program, which is our Benefits to Work program, which I am the manager of. So I actually provide statewide services for all of Arizona about advocacy, educating on mostly employment and now transitional youth. We have Direct Center for Independence in our southern area, dealing with a couple counties there. We also have New Horizons, which is in our northern Arizona area. Smile Independent Living Center, which is very, very small center, way down south, right on the Mexico border. And then we have Assist to Independence, which is up and very high in our northern Arizona, and they do a lot with on the reservations. They have boundaries within the Navajo Nation itself, so very limited in what they can provide there, but a lot of these centers we work together. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a little bit of Ability 360. Ability 360, our mission statement is that we offer and promote programs designed to empower people with disabilities to take personal responsibilities so that us, may achieve and continue independent living lifestyles within the community. Next slide. So, not to brag, but these are some of the programs we offer. We offer a lot of programs, but I'm showing this to be able to show you that there is a wide range of possibilities of services. Again, we do the information referral. We do independent living. We have services for people who do receive developmental disability services, the Division of Developmental Disability Services. But we also have programs for people who fall through those cracks and do not qualify for those services. We do socialization through recreation, so we do activities where we are truly community integrated, going in the community as a whole, and truly participating in our community. Um, and of course, we teach independent living skills. We have a wide range of independent living skills, and we base those independent living skills based on surveys that we ask of our consumers. So this is something we'll talk about as we keep going, but if there's a service you need, the center's not going to provide it if they don't know there's a need in the community. So we do a lot of surveys towards our community and ask, what do you need? So we base our classes on what they're saying. So we got a lot of stuff saying, hey, you know what, I need some budgeting classes. We start teaching budgeting. So that's how we kind of do a lot of things. Our transition, we have integrations from nursing homes. So we have people who go into nursing homes and help people learn how to get out of nursing homes, how to set up housing, how to, get all the major living equipment they need, sheets, dishes, everything, housing, to get them established into a non-restrictive environment. We do outreach and early intervention, so we have someone who goes to the hospitals and deals with individuals who are newly disabled. So somebody's in a car accident, we are usually at the hospital talking to them, saying life isn't over, talking to the family, this is what it means to have disability and it's going to be okay. We have an empowering youth transition, so we go to high schools and teach advocacy classes to the youth in the schools. Do home modification, so helping people modify their home so they can stay independent. Again, advocacy, huge part. We do peer support. This is my life. We teach advocacy to people within the Division of Developmental Disability who are nonverbal. So we teach how to speak your voice when you don't have a voice. Benefits to Work is a program I say that I manage. We teach Social Security. Very, very confusing world out there. We teach Social Security education. We do employment. And now transitional youth services. So very exciting. We do volunteerism, so we have people come and they volunteer, they learn some of these life skills, they learn some of these employment skills. We even have a theater group, which I'm also part of a theater group here, and we go and educate about disabilities through song, dance, and sign. Our biggest thing that we have is our home care. So we have home care services where we connect people with home care providers so that they can continue to live independently. Can get ready for work, help them with their house needs, take care of their needs, so their families aren't feeling the need to quit their jobs and make this their full-time job. We also have an employment services that we provide, and then we have our sports and fitness center, which is our pride and joy. So if you would show me the next slide, I'm going to brag for a moment. This is our sports and fitness center. It's one of 2 fully accessible gyms in the country, and it's so cool. And this is completely a fully accessible gym. So when we help people with health and wellness, non-rehabilitation. It's not a medical model by any stretch of the imagination. Independent living is very opposite of a medical model. So this is one of the things that we really helps get people in the door. And once we get them in the door, then we start providing those advocacy services. So next slide. In Arizona, we do a lot of networking and interactions. Our intersections really allow us to have a true understanding of what are the needs of people with disabilities in Arizona. And we really work very close with this. Raising Special Kids, huge partnership with Raising Special Kids. So as that parent center, and we're talking to youth and we're talking to their families, working together to share these services. And so I'm very involved in a lot of things with Raising Special Kids. Again, we do the shift with Beth and Peak, and very, very excited about this opportunity to help increase awareness about silks and about rehab services. We have an Employment First initiative. It's a grassroots here. It's not by executive order. It is a bunch of providers and advocates who really care, and that is the belief that all people of working age, youth and adults with disabilities, their daily activity should be employment. And a lot of times you hear, well, I can't go to work, and there's a lot of things get in the way, but really, we believe that with the right supports and the right assistance, everyone can go to work to some degree. And we really want to help that and change that belief structure in America. Um, we have Aspire grant here, which you also have in Colorado. We actually work together in a consortium, and that is to work with youth who receive supplemental security income, SSI, to break that SSI dependency for them and their families, to help them move off of the dependency of benefits and into self-sufficiency. We have a Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, which is incredible, where we're teaching youth with disabilities to become advocates and go through this incredible training. And that's just an incredible model that I think should be replicated in every state, and that's our goal. And our Ability 360, our benefits work program, which is what I work on, we are now working with transitional youth. I just got a grant from Walmart to start mentoring youth towards employment. So basically, the common goal, though, between working with parent groups and working with these centers is that we are there to support youth to become aware of their disability in a meaningful way, so they can embrace and personally direct their own lives with skilled confidence, because it's hard. It's very hard, and so we want to be able to help people really do this. And so we're having all these groups that believe that youth need to be empowered and can be empowered, and support the parents and support the providers to be able to provide these effective services. We all come together with this common goal. So next slide. That gives us to Colorado. Beth, are you going to take it over at this point?
Hey, Nicholas. Oh,
Yes.
go ahead.
I was going to ask you first, Nicholas, if you wouldn't mind. I know I had the opportunity, several of us had the opportunity to actually visit the Ability 360 Center, and I was very impressed by your fitness facility. But the other impressive part of that was that is a community facility where people with and without disabilities utilize the facility together. And I wondered if you could just mention that, although I said it, but do you want
Yes,
to?
I will mention what you just said. We have a magazine here. It's kind of like our entertainment, socialization kind of rag that you pick up on the corner to find out where the concerts are. And they have the best of, and it's called the Best of New Times. And in 2013, which is, no, 2014, my apologies, we were voted the best gym for everyone. We are not, Ability 360, not only do we have our Center for Independence here in our Sports and Fitness Center, but our whole entire campus is 12 other nonprofits, including Raising Special Kids, including our parent center, is in this building. And we are there for people with disabilities, without disabilities. We are there to provide a true community integration. We are our campus is universally designed, but we are all about inclusion. So we have people without disabilities coming to our gym and working out right aside people with disabilities. And sometimes you don't know who's who, and that's exactly how it should be in the community. Sometimes it's visible and sometimes it's not. And it's great. And we're actually in the middle of creating a cafe so that we can, which is completely being run by people who have disabilities, fully accessible and fully universally designed so that people who are blind or deaf can actually order and receive their food and services. So we're actually working on a cafe right now. So we are trying to become a mecca of true inclusion.
Great. And there was one question that came through. Is there a gym membership fee?
Yes, there is. It's very reasonable. It can be done several different ways. It can be done through a monthly. It can be done through a yearly membership. It can be done through a punch pass where you get like 12 punches for the year. And we have scholarships if people have challenges and low income. We don't want that to be a barrier. So we have memberships, and it's great. We, like I always say, it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell. We don't care what your disability is. We don't care what your family's disability is. Just come out and work out so that people feel healthy. And a lot of times people come to this gym, they just want to swim or just want to go someplace where people aren't going to stare at them, and they get totally into this true philosophy. And so there's memberships, and it's open to the public. We do a lot of stuff with Wounded Warriors. We do just tons of stuff. Raise Special Kids do stuff in there, Special Olympics. We have Paralympic gold medalists training in there right now. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, great.
So,
Great, thank you. And we did another question that came in, but we're going to address that right now. Someone said, wow, Arizona sounds wonderful, but what can happen in Colorado? What's happening in Colorado? I live in Colorado. So we're moving on to let you know about the Centers for Independent Living in Colorado. And I do want to reinforce at the beginning something Nicholas said, that there is, not all centers provide the same services at this point, and that's very true in Colorado. And I know some of our discussion, as Nicholas goes on in a minute, is going to be around, so if your center doesn't provide services, then what can you do about that? But here are the centers in Colorado. As you can see, Atlantis and Denver, some of them cover huge areas of geographical areas, like the Center for Disabilities is all of southeastern Colorado and all the way to Alamosa. Grand Junction and Western Slope, Center for Independence, Boulder and North Metro, the Center for People with Disabilities, and then the Independence Center in Colorado Springs, which also serves several other communities, and then in Greeley, the Connection Center, Disabled Resource Center, Fort Collins, Loveland, Northwest Colorado Center, Steamboat Springs, Southwest Center for Independence in Durango and Cortez. And so there clearly, there's a lot of places in between those places where I think that centers are attempting to serve those geographic areas, but they need to really hear from us about what folks need, and that really leads to the intersection in Colorado, I think, because we are really working hard right now to build collaborative connections with the Centers for Independent Living, as well as vocational rehabilitation and the other initiatives that we want to make sure that there's we all have common goals. We want to make sure there are efforts that we make the most of all the efforts. So looking at the intersection, Peak Parent Center in general, and our Parent Training and Information Center is very concerned about supporting youth with disabilities. And then also we have the Shift RSA Transition Project. Peak is a part of a statewide transition community of practice that has just gotten going in this past year. Arizona's community of practice was actually a model for Colorado, and that's something that has great potential, I think, for helping us to make the connections, get communication between agencies, and make things more effective for our young people. Then the Colorado Silk, that's the Statewide Independent Living Council and the Centers for Independent Living in Colorado. Our State Rehabilitation Council, which is a part of DVR, the Division of Voc Rehab, which has actually will officially join as of July 1st, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Our Education Department, as Nicholas said, Colorado is involved in the coalition that is implementing Aspire. And Colorado, some of you may know, there was just a state law passed making Colorado an employment first state. And that is significant because employment first is, as the term sounds, it's a national movement, and it's regarding especially individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, that they have a right to employment, and because too many times unilateral decisions are made that are not focused on employment for individuals. So I
There's a
do. Oh, go ahead, Brenda.
there's a question from Julie. Is there any governing requirements for CILs, or are they truly independent and each center can provide different services?
Nicholas, I'm going to
So,
let you answer that.
so we have to do the 5 core services. All centers must provide the 5 core services. Now, how they look, those 5 core services of information referral, independent living, peer mentorship, advocacy, and transition, they may look different, but we receive federal funding out of the Rehabilitation Act that states that we must do those 5 services. So how they look varies depending on the center. Now, as I'm going to talk further about this as we go a little further, it also depends on what, again, their community is requiring of them. But they must provide those 5 core services, every center. So if you have a center who says, oh, well, we can't help you with advocacy, then there's a challenge. If they're telling you, well, we don't do independent living here, well, then you're not a silk. And I'm going to give you information about the National Coalition for Independent Living where you can learn a little bit more, but they must provide those 5 services. So
And
while they
Nicholas,
are nonprofits, they must provide those federal services.
and isn't it also true, because you did say earlier that they need to serve people with a full range of disabilities, so they can't say that they can't serve a particular
Now,
person with a disability.
right. So they may say, we're not specialized in working with, say, people on the spectrum, but that doesn't mean they can't serve people on the spectrum. Just means you're going to have to learn your skill fast because you got this person in front of you right now and they need your service. And these services are free. These are not services we charge people to do. I did not state that. These are free services because we get paid other people's money to do this. It is not necessarily a referral directive. It's not like I have to go to my division of developmental disabilities case manager to get a referral to a Center for Independence. You can go directly to a Center for Independence and get these services. Now, some of the funding might only be for certain populations, like our This Is My Life is only for people who receive Division of Developmental funding because that's an extra thing that we do. But straight out advocacy, we got to provide to everyone, no matter if they're deaf or if they have use a wheelchair. I'm making signs and nobody can see my hands down here. That doesn't make sense. But or a mental illness. And this was something when I first started working here 5 years ago. There was a belief structure that as a center we didn't provide services for people with mental health challenges. My background's in psych rehab. I was like, oh no, we're going to change that perception right away. So it's cross disability. They must provide those services.
Great. Thanks, Nicholas.
You're welcome. Beth talked about this a little bit. Silks. Silks are statewide independent living councils. And so these are private, nonprofit corporations governed by people of all types of disabilities across the state. Their role is to identify societal barriers to independent living. They kind of oversee the centers. They don't tell the centers what to do, but they collaborate with the centers, rehabilitation services, and other entities to kind of say, what does the community need? So when I was talking about, surveys and stuff, the Silks do a lot of surveys out into the community saying, this is what your population says they need. And then they take them back to these Silks. And we have a board of directors who, are responsible for a lot of federal stuff. And they're saying, this is what is being asked of you. And if we don't follow through with that, then that becomes an advocacy issue again, because then we have people going, I asked for this. Is there a reason why I don't have it? Now, it might not be individualized, but if we weren't providing services for people with mental health challenges, and we keep hearing, I need mental health challenges services, and we don't do it, the Silk would come back and go, what's going on here? Why are you not providing the services that are being requested of your community? Is there something we can do to help you achieve that? Because their jobs also help remove some of those barriers and increase those supports. So they look at and what's going on. So our silk here, we did a huge survey. The silk here did a huge survey, and guess what came up? We needed youth services. We, as Centers for Independence in Arizona, are not doing enough for youth. That was a huge, huge thing. So our Center for our SILC, our statewide Independent Living Council, created their strategic plan, and their strategic plan says we're providing youth services some way. So they're actually creating, and they're the ones who created the Youth Leadership Forum here in Arizona, and are moving forward into making sure these services then trickle down into the Centers for Independence. So they kind of overseeing, they don't tell us what to do, but they definitely guide us and collaborate with other entities to make sure services are there. Hope that wasn't too confusing. Next slide.
Nicholas, before you go on, I just wanted to mention that I think that we are looking to more engagement with the Silk here in Colorado. I'm going to their meeting in another month, and we have made connections. The person who is the chair of the Colorado Silk is a member of our governing committee, so we are working on that linkage, and we would be able to and want to have feedback from youth and families in Colorado that we want to be able to share with the Silk so that they will be more aware of what the needs are and what might or might not be happening through the SIL in their community.
Great. And the Silks, they have boards too, and they are always looking for people. So, you know, great way to change what's happening is to get involved in it. So the Silks would be a great way to kind of share that information to make sure the SILs hear what is being said. So glad to hear that's happening in Colorado too. It's always been a challenge. It's a challenge in every state. So collaboration is always a challenge in everything in every state, but we're working on these things. I'm not letting that be an excuse for people. And I mean the centers themselves. Get out there and collaborate back. So how do you find your local Silk or SIL? So the National Coalition of Independent Living, NICL is what it's called, advances independent living and the rights for people with disabilities. This is a national organization. It's in Washington, D.C. I've had the incredible honor of going twice to Washington, D.C. and participate in the National Coalition Independent Living Council conferences. It's incredible. Recommended. It's in July. Incredible opportunities. We march on Washington. We talk with senates. These people are incredible. The NICL, National Coalition of Independent Living, envisions a world in which people with disabilities, all people with disabilities, are valued equally and fully participate. And they mean in everything. This is not, and it is people with disabilities doing this. This is not other people doing it for us. We are out there doing it ourselves. So that is that website. You can go onto that website, learn more about it. There's a map. You can go on there and you can find your area. You can find your location. You can find the name of each and every one of the SILs that we talked about, your SILK, phone numbers, contact the executive directors, email right there. You can email directly to our, Phil's going to love it, our CEO, and say, Phil, why aren't you doing it? I need this. So it's a great way to get involved just right through that website. Next slide. So a lot of this is about really moving forward. And that's what I know you really want to know. It's like, how do you get what you need out of these? So we need to know that, you know, our history. We have a common history, and our common history with Centers for Independence and the Parent Training and Information Center is oppression. It's simple. It is. You know, it's discrimination and oppression. So we come from the same history. We come from the same issues. We were youth with disabilities, a lot of us. A lot of us may have acquired our disabilities later in life. A lot of us were born with our disabilities. And so we have this commonality, and that's a great way to partner. A lot of times people feel alone. Parents feel alone. They feel lost. They feel overwhelmed. Great way to be able to feel like there's some hope is to connect with your centers. You're going to see what your child is capable of in the people who provide these services. You need to, recognize we have common values and philosophies. We want the same thing, which is full inclusion to the best of our ability, as independently as we can. And again, independent doesn't mean living by myself in a house. Independent means, whatever independent means for you. It's a very individualized terms. It's not there's a right way or a wrong way. There's the way for each individual, and that's their way. And we want to make sure their way is what they get. And recognizing the need for cross disabilities with limited resources. People aren't handing over money to people with disabilities to change the world, so we kind of have to do this ourselves and really get out there and start partnering so that we can make some of these changes. We all have limited resources, and people are so challenged of working in a silo. If we start partnering and we start bringing these organizations together, we can accomplish so much more than we can on our own. And all our priorities are about transition. Transition is huge right now. It's the state movement. It's the country movement. We are all moving towards transition. There are new laws with the WIOA about the fact that we have to include youth. We have to do these services different. We have not done them justice, and we have to do them differently, and it's come down to federal laws, so we're going to be doing it differently. When approaching a partnership, we need to realize, that there are those mutual priorities, that we're all in this together. We do the best we can for the people that we serve and for our loved ones. You really need to start with some of the basics, though. A lot of times, with no disrespect, I'm a parent myself. I mean, we want everything for our children, and we want it now. And, you have a right to demand that, but, we've come from a long history of oppression and a long history of lack of resources and a long history of people not even caring what we had to say. So starting with, we're in this together, no fault of where we came in our history, let's move forward and start with, don't expect everything at once. We kind of take it a little slow sometimes. And I know it's hard when you need it now. But we can do this together if we're patient with each other. You need to learn what's available. A lot of times people don't realize what is available to them. So calling up your center and saying, what do you do? Tell me what you do. I want to know everything you do in this center. I would love to hear what you do, because a lot of times I worked in rehabilitation services for 15 years. And I used to send people to this center before I started working here. And I thought I knew what they did. And on my first day on the job, I realized I knew nothing about what they did, that they offered way more than I ever thought was possible as a provider out in the community. So call up, ask that information referral person, tell me what services are available. There's a lot more there than you will ever think. It's really, really exciting. Use those services. Take advantage of them. Even if they're not providing youth services, there are services you can use at these centers. There is the information referral. You can find out so much from information referrals. I mean, we have a lender closet where we actually lend out wheelchairs for people. And I didn't know that till I was working here for a year when I hurt myself and I needed a wheelchair again. So, I mean, just really take advantage of these information referrals. The advocacy is great. Learning about disability rights. As a parent, there's a huge history that is not taught. The civil rights of disability, civil rights, are never taught in schools. And that shows great hope. If you see our civil rights movement, it's incredible hope. It teaches advocacy, system advocacy. How do I fight for my youth? How do I fight for myself? Learning about voters' rights, learning about all the different issues out there so that our voice is truly heard. And while there may not be the youth services yet, know that the centers can move that way, but your child is going to become an adult. So knowing that those services are going to be there kind of can help you guide you towards planning for your youth as they move into adulthood. Know that, yes, our resources may be limited, and we need to prioritize. I mean, if you have a little bit of money, you have to prioritize what services you can provide. So let those centers know that you're a priority. Centers will not provide services if they think they're not needed. And if you say youth services are needed, transitional services before my child gets out of high school, transitional services for someone under the age of 18 is necessary for me, then that will change their priority. That is a huge part. Advocate for yourself and say, you know what? I am your priority. This is my community. And then provide your assistance. You have a lot of assistance and support and knowledge that you can provide to these centers. As we are learning how to work more with youth, we need the parents. We need the parents training information centers to work with us. We need the parents themselves. We need the youth to say, this is how to provide the services. If you're going to wait for us to figure it out, we're going to mess it up. Okay, so you know what you need. So come to us and tell us and offer that assistance of yourself. Be part of us, and that will guide the direction of centers. That, to me, is truly, I believe, how all change happens, is done through grassroots. I'm a grassroots civil justice person, and change happens by people saying, I want change. So let these centers know that. I don't think I have anything else.
Nicholas, we are running out of time as well. So,
Yay, okay. I think
amazing how fast the time went, though. We do have one other question. I'm wondering if in 3 words, I'm going to challenge you in 3 words. Can you answer this question? I'm joking, of course. But we have someone who wants to know how the WIOA affects the sills. And there is, it does affect the sills, correct? And can we maybe send out some information in our follow-up email regarding that you might share with me?
3 words. Start providing.
3 words.
Start providing to youth. I got 4. Okay. Start providing for youth. That's what the WIOA says. For us, as well as vocational services, education, everything is impacted by this. Youth must be served.
That was 20 words. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, as we close, I want to let you know, I just need to bring up another screen here. Whoa, no, I didn't. Okay, so I know there were some questions about the SHIFT project that came through, and you are all going to receive a follow-up email from us after the webinar, and we'll provide some more information about the SHIFT project. But right here on this slide, it says contact Peak for transition assistance and information. And we do have a transition advisor on staff who serves both our SHIFT project as well as our parent training and information project. And we are doing a self-advocacy course, piloting that, and are going to be disseminating that to other parent centers in other states. It's going to be piloted in Arizona next year as well. We've got workshops, and we've got a lot of resource information that we can share. So let us be your conduit for resources and information, and to Nicholas, because he is a friend, and we can keep utilizing his great font of knowledge and his passion about his job. So